Well,
good evening.
Good evening and happy 2024, believe it
Yeah.
or not. And welcome to the Online Wine Tasting Club. So I know a few people may have got this tasting for Happy Christmas or whatever holidays you were celebrating. So
What
welcome.
generous and wonderful people who
Wonderful,
gave you a
wonderful
membership to this.
people.
Absolutely.
Something like that. You should say thank you very much after this.
we'll
But so welcome to anyone who's new. Really good to see everybody. So with the Online Wine Tasting Club, I'm Jamie. This is Alex.
Hi.
Anyone who was watching Instagram earlier, he came with a different shirt. So there wasn't actually any of the shirts in the video were here. But what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about what we think the trends are going to be in 2024 and how influencers and wine journalists affect how we choose and how we buy everything.
Someone's saying there's no sound.
Oh, no, then he said it was him.
Is that, okay, no, good. Everyone else can hear the sound. Okay, that's a relief.
That's fantastic. So for anyone who's new to us, we've got the chat, as you can see. So jump in, ask your questions, keep everybody happy. That's fantastic. When we're getting our wines, it should be nice and easy. You should just be able to pop the pouch open, pop the carton over, take a little pair of scissors.
Yeah, if you tip it a little bit away from the opening, then that's a guaranteed way of not spilling it. If you tip it towards the opening,
snip the pouch, pour a little. Pour a lot if you like, but if you've got a friend with you, you can share. Look at that.
For those of you who don't know what these amazing pouches are, well, it's something that we've invented
pouches of wine.
For.
That's what
they are. Pouches of wine. It's something we've invented just for these tastings, and they have obviously a lot of advantages over glass bottles from an environmental point of view, from a cost point of view, because we want to be paying for wine, not for bottles and things like that. And that's what lets us do these.
So would you say that sustainable packaging solution is one of the trends of 2024?
I would say it's a very good trend, and it's also what after we have bullied it for a lot of time, we are now actually officially say we've measured it independently and we've had it tested by all these masters of wine and buyers, and it is the highest performing alternative format of wine in the world. So it works better than cans and it works better than bag-in-box, which is pretty cool, given that it looks like a little pouch, but there's a lot of science has gone into that little pouch. So,
absolutely. And everyone who's new to us is now turned off before they've even had a sip of wine. So the one other thing we have is we have Slido. So you can either scan the QR code or you can use another device and go to towtc.co.uk/taste.
Yeah, get your phone in your hand and pop that up.
And this will allow you to not only A, pop your tasting notes in as we go along and see what everyone else is tasting. B, when we get towards the end of the show, we've got a quiz.
We do have a quiz.
Quizzes have prizes, which I will decide, depending how nice everyone is to me, how good the prize is. But there we go. So
that is fair.
We've got the first one in the glass. Feel free to sip it, but don't down it all. We're going to get back to it. But I think first off, we've got a little video to go. How important is influencing?
We're talking about wine influencers tonight. We're talking about how you can find reliable wine information on the internet. And as we all know, finding reliable information on the internet's really easy, isn't it?
Well, it doesn't happen at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. I'll tell you that.
No, it doesn't. But anyway, this is just a little bit of fun, so I will pop this up.
I'm just going to use the restroom real fast.
So, Mom, Dad, do you like him?
How many followers does he have?
Like 300 something.
That's a little low, honey.
I know.
So he's not an influencer? Who is he influencing?
His dog.
He probably only wants you for your followers.
That's not true.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but when they brought the food over, he didn't take any pictures, no videos, nothing. He just...
Anyway, so that is a witty look at what an influencer is. But we get influence in what wines we buy by all sorts of places, like what's on special offer, what celebrities stuck their name on the front of it, or we could be reading in the newspapers and seeing some thoroughly excellent people who've got great views of it, or we could go onto Instagram. And obviously it's a free-for-all. This is brilliant thing about social media is that anyone can have a go. And should we be gatekeepers? Should we stop anyone from having a go and sharing their joy of wine? I don't think so. Well,
yes. You should taste 6 wines a month with us, and those should be the only wines you buy. That's what I'm influencing tonight.
Let's move the tasting notes on to wine number 1. So tonight we're going to go into a little bit of a dive into this just to see what exactly we think what are good wine influencers doing? What are less good wine influencers doing? Is there such a thing as a less good influencer? Who knows? So,
and I think while we do that, we're also going to be talking about what we think the trends are for 2024.
Yes,
so
indeed.
it is going to be a little bit of a round the houses kind of tasting. So get your stuff in the chat because it's your club, and without your opinions, you get our opinions. And
if you put your there we go.
gooseberry, we're done. The first tasting night of the year is gooseberry, and that is correct.
Correct, yes. Well, there's no right or wrong, we like to say, but occasionally some are more right than others.
Exactly.
But yeah, we don't like to tell you what to taste. You tell us what you're tasting. I think we're starting off. Why are we starting off with Sauvignon Blanc? I mean, are we not all a bit bored of Sauvignon Blanc by now?
Well, it is, one of the biggest selling wines on the planet right now. It's hugely popular. It does really well. And it kind of went through a stage. Then there was a little bit of a race to the bottom to try and get it as cheap and cheerful as it is. And now, because it is as popular as it is, and especially when we take where we are now with Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc, there's no more space. They can't grow anymore. So the quality is all kind of going back up again. And for me, New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc was one of the first wines that I kind of got with that people understood the grape, the place, and the reason. When I first got into wine, it's like, oh, I want a dry white or a medium dry, or there was a brand name or a regional name. This was one of the first styles of wine where people said, I would like Sauvignon Blanc, but I would like a Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand and maybe
from
even
Marlborough,
from Marlborough. So this is a Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc from the Wairau.
This is really nice.
And it's a single vineyard area called Dillon's Point. And the reason we're doing this one is, I think, and Alex was been going on about it for a while, but I think we're getting more traction on it. And this is about the trend of regenerative farming.
Yeah. And I think the best thing to say about this is that regenerative agriculture and farming and viticulture, which is just making vines grow from grapes, it's become the umbrella term that sort of captures all of it. We had people talking about organic. We had people talking about biodynamic, sustainable. There's lots and lots of different. And I think there's a big effort starting to come together to stop people greenwashing things now. And I think that's a very good thing. Like it actually has to do something. And the whole point of regenerative farming is to try to stop the soil from just getting eroded and washed away. And we can make vines grow in just a pile of mud, basically, by making sure it's got the simple nutrients that we need. And if it's just eating those simple nutrients, you tend to get quite simple flavours.
Yeah, and there's also the point, without me getting on my climate high horse, that people go sustainable. Sustainable means we're keeping it exactly the same.
Yeah.
Regenerative is trying to leave it in a better state than you started with.
Right. All of the farming on Earth depends on this tiny layer of topsoil to sustain the plant, and that's really kind of dangerous because it can get washed away. And when you look at the roots of a plant that's been growing just for a year, they might go down, say, that far. You look at the roots of a plant that has been growing there for years and years, they'll go down like potentially meters down into the soil, into the bedrock, and they anchor that topsoil to the ground. But they also support this network of mycorrhizal fungi, which is go and look into it if you don't know about it.
You're not doing that for the next hour. I'm glad. Go and look into that. I'm Alex Taylor. I have a 12-page presentation that I will share with you now.
Yeah, it's a good thing, and it allows the plants actually communicate with each other via this network of fungus. It's absolutely bonkers, but they can know if there's a drought in another part of the vineyard, and they start preparing themselves for it, and it's a really cool thing. So the thing that you've really got to do to stop doing this is what a lot of farmers do, which is tilling. They go off and they rip through the soil with discs or with big plows, and they rip the soil up and they break up all the roots of those not vine plants. Which allows you to. Why do they do that? Well, it stops competition with vines. That's the main reason they do it, and obviously that allows the vine to put more energy into making grapes, and it gets more grapes.
Not necessarily better grapes, but a bigger yield, and you're able to make more stuff.
So I think it's a really cool trend, and we're seeing a lot of people planting, really picking their cover crops that just sit between the rows of vines, and they might sort of mow them one year on every odd row in the vineyards, and then the next year on every even row in the vineyard. So this is a way of really encouraging biodiversity, and that biodiversity not only just being a good thing for the environment, gives you good wine,
And they'll
which is good.
and, you know,
And this
bring,
tastes like
they'll
it.
bring animals in. Is it in South Africa? There's a winery that has running ducks go
They
through
do.
to pull out the
Yeah.
bits and pieces that aren't needed and
Oh.
start. It's
there are some wonderful people in this. I think if you're going to look up
do
one
they,
person,
do they
I'd
use
say
goats?
Mimi Castile. A lot of people do use goats. Probably
That's
not
all I got.
screaming goats, but yes. Who knows? I did actually see a bunch of screaming goats in Napa Valley once, but so it's
Wow, we are
possible.
digressing. I just want to pop a little note in here about, Alex has said about tilling and not taking that kind of like machinery through to rip up all the soil. It doesn't mean that these wines are not part of a mechanical system. This wine, when they go and harvest, this is still machine harvested because Sauvignon Blanc in Marlborough does better when it's machine harvested rather than hand harvested. So it's not a one size fits all for this regenerative farming. It's not, biodynamics is this is the code of ethics of biodynamics.
Mm-hmm.
Regenerative is a more kind of holistic approach of trying to do the best you can with things. And if this part of it works for you, great. If that part doesn't quite work for you, that's okay as well. And it's kind of a lot of best case scenarios.
Kathy's diploma project was on sustainability in the winery. That's really cool. That is really cool indeed. It is a very, very nice label. If you ask Kathy nicely, I'm sure she will tell you a little bit more about that in the chat. And I think I'm with you on this as well, Diane. I went off Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand in a big way, and I think
it became a bit of a one size fits all.
Yeah, and it was just so in your face, and it started tasting a bit of cat wee and things like that. How do I get the picture back? That's how. Here we are. We're back. Yeah.
But yeah, and I said that there used to be a time that I'm like, if I'm going to do a blind tasting, I want it to be New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc because they could open the bottle from 3.5 miles away and you'd be able to smell that it was a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. But we've got, it is classic. It's classic Sauvignon Blanc. I just think it's a little bit more grown up. It's not a big smack you in the face over the top, but it's still the same tasting. It's gooseberry, it's lime, it's lemon, it's citrus.
It's got this
but it's got
this
balance
kind of
to it.
Zestiness that's not quite so artificial. It's like it's almost like a bit of salinity on it, like a bit of saltiness. It's lovely.
But they do a little. So it's done in stainless steel, but they do leave the lees in for a little while, so you get that little bit of texture as well. So a little bit lees aging on there.
That
There's
is
a very good question.
All around.
I've not been humming that every time I've mentioned this wine for the last 3 weeks. But I think this showcases that New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, without having to be a completely different style, can be just a little bit more restrained.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I think it is. It's a really nicely. There's a lot of these flavors coming up in sort of equal quantities. It's balanced. It's not like there's just. I know everyone's saying the gooseberry is there, and yes, of course you get it, but there's so much like others. I like someone was talking about sort of tangerine skins there, which are really coming through, and then there's herbs and there's a bit of spice coming through. I think that's a very nice wine. Good start.
Absolutely. So, does it sound like it's time for wine number 2?
I don't know. What do people think? I want to go on to wine number 2.
I think we should. Let's get wine number 2 into the glass. Yeah, you've got a second glass. That's why I've got 2 glasses.
Okay.
So
All right.
Do what you like to do. So while we pour this, let's talk about the start of influencers we've got, because we've got a few little videos to kind of show around. And some influencers.
Before we start talking about influencers, like, is it worth just like going? In the old days, what did we do for wine information? How did we discover about new wines? I mean, obviously there is the Bible, and I don't mean that one. I actually mean the Jancis Robinson. Where's it gone? It's the Oxford's
Wine Encyclopedia.
Encyclopedia of Wine, and that is a brilliant reference to every region, every country, every grape. It is absolutely phenomenal piece of work, and now on its 6th edition or something. It's a really
phenomenal
read.
reference,
but wine changes every year.
Wine law changes on a daily basis at the moment.
Yes, yeah,
whether
indeed.
What your yields can be, what your grapes you can grow are,
even what the grapes are called. Like, because you've got situations like Prosecco used to be the grape and now it's the region. Or but yes, then of course from that you then got things such as television shows, where obviously people like Gilly Goulden and Oz Clarke would talk in beautiful, poetic text about this wonderful wine that sat in front of you, and you're sat there going,
I want some.
I don't know. And that was a great way of learning about it, and it was really, really interesting. And you've still got that tradition for people like Helen McGinn on Saturday Kitchen now doing a phenomenal job, and with Oz and James May bringing wine to a whole different set of people. The power of television as a medium.
The wine show, fantastic
The wine
stuff.
show, and Joe Fattorini. When you sit down and you talk with him, he is talk of encyclopedic. He doesn't just know everybody. He's got a funny story of the time he met them and got himself into a bit of trouble with them, which I think sums up Joe perfectly. But the internet's come along and now it's changed, and I think a lot of newspapers and magazines, which is another great place for getting wine information, have started to struggle a bit. And with social media putting this stuff out there, a lot of the wine old guard don't like it because they were the ones who told you about it. And who are these nobodies coming along? Who are these nobodies who sit there and talk about wine on the internet? And I dare say there's probably a bit of criticism like that leveled at us. Now, the difference is Jamie has been studying this and working in the wine industry for years. And what qualifications do you have then? Go on. Because they're not easy to get these qualifications.
I haven't got loads. I'm not an MW. No. I'm not a master somm by any stretch of the imagination. Those people are geniuses. But I do have my WSET level 3. I've got my quartermaster sommelier certified sommelier. I've got my CSW from the Society of Wine Educators.
In wine.
And I'm a WSET educator.
Yep. Which means you have to be trained in how to communicate and teach people. You're a member of the Association of Wine Educators?
Yeah, Association of Wine Educators. Yeah. And I'm also a host of the online wine tasting. Yeah, that's true.
And I'm Alex. But I studied lots and lots
of
courses.
Move the tasting notes on?
Yeah, let's move the tasting notes on.
Let's move the tasting notes on so people can, stop talking about gooseberries and talk about Semillon.
Oh, I don't claim to be anywhere near as experienced as Jamie in the wine world because I had an earlier career as an engineer. But I retrained as a winemaker and I studied viticulture and winemaking. And I think it's, do you know what? I have my little niches of knowledge where I know a lot. And there are bits where I don't know. And I'm the first to put my hand up and go, can't tell you all the different cru of Beaujolais, or I can't tell you all the different individual sub-vineyards of this particular region.
I think there's something with that. And I think wine education and wine influencer, and we'll see this as we go through, it's about getting the right level of knowledge that the person in front of you wants to have. And then there's also a part of wine knowledge that what do you need to have on your fingertips? And what if you don't know the 10 crus of Beaujolais from north to south through the region, can you not find out on your phone via Google in 8.2 seconds?
Yes, yeah. Or you could, if you want to know about a wine, everyone's got Vivino. They can pull up tasting notes written by lots of people and they can see what they think about it. And that is fine. By the way, should we grab bottle 2 so I can pop it on the badge
we
account?
can do that. That's fine.
But yeah, I think, and it's very, very easy to feel the kind of the weight of the knowledge that all these masters of wine have got. But ultimately, I think everyone here is on the same team, or at least most of them are. The good people are all trying to get to share their love of wine, and as long as that's the reason they're doing it, I think that's a brilliant thing. Some people, should we go there? Should we go there?
You're going to.
I'm going to go there.
You're going to name names and get us cancelled.
All right. We're probably going to get cancelled for this. We're always going to get cancelled for this. But there's a very difficult topic. It's like, how much do you use things like your sex appeal to sell your wine influences?
That's the only thing I use.
That's the only thing he uses, of course, naturally. And I just use my shirts.
And that's why we've got a massive 28 people watching live.
It's true. And when you go and look at what are the videos that have hundreds of thousands of hits on Instagram, it'll be things like Wine Spice Girl walking along a beach with a glass of wine. And I don't have that one anymore. I don't know where it's gone.
I don't think
strange. Well, I did have it. But yeah, there are plenty of people who do that. The question for me is, why are they doing it? Are they doing this to share their love of wine and to help you on your journey with wine, or are they doing it as just self-promotion? And if it's just self-promotion, then I haven't got much time for it. It's not my cup of tea.
I think there is an in the middle ground. There is the just for fun. It's not even self-promotion. It's like, because I think there's the one that you pulled in there, but it's just the Christmassy wine thing. It's just a very just for fun thing, isn't it? No.
Absolutely. And here we are. Let's get that on then. See, that's told me absolutely nothing about wine,
But it was
it
fun.
doesn't have to. It's quite fun. It was a fun little thing, and there's plenty of people doing that, and they are all sharing their love of wine. It's not for me, but plenty of people love it, and I don't mind. You've got to look at that with other industries. Like, look at the world of fashion. For years, people have just looked at what clothes this person was seen in, and I think it's the same with wines. You've got these people that are followed and are seen as trendsetters, and there they are with this wine, and it looks beautiful, and they're on their yacht, and it's a great place. That is worth something to the wineries. Does it tell you anything about whether the wine's good? Not really, but then you've got people who use their attractiveness, and by that I include men and women and anyone else. You've got lots of people who will just sit there and put up videos which initially might look just like them just posing with a bottle in a cool place, but they've actually got a whole load of really interesting wine information on it. And I know, and if you go beyond, they've used this to draw you in, and then they're actually educating you. And I've got 100% respect for that. I think that's an absolutely brilliant thing, and more of that, please, because as long as they're lifting the wine industry up, that's great. This has got a lot of tasting notes on it.
Huge amount of tasting notes. We should probably talk about it.
So let's talk about the wine. We'll talk about the wine.
So I'll go, and Sophia's got a question there first, which I'll answer before we go there. Why is this a trending wine? Because everybody else in the world is saying that wine trends is no low alcohol. Okay. Yeah. And no low alcohol is absolutely a growing category in the wine world. It really is. But what I think we're going to see a trend towards is a more responsible amount of alcohol in everyday drinking wines. So instead of trying to cut the wine down to 4%, 0.5%, something like that.
2015.
I think we're going to start seeing more wines that are in that back to 11 to 13%. And I think if I've got it right, and I remember what I put in this booklet. So Andy, who's Affordable Wine Hunter, who should absolutely follow wine, is fantastic. His quote, which is in the booklet, he thinks there'll be less 15% wines in favour of 13 to move away from the heavier headaches. And I think that's what it is. We talk about wine, and it has been over the last few years, both for what critics would rate highly, and because of the world just getting warmer and there being more sugar, it slowly crept up from 12, 13% to 14.5, 15, sometimes 16, 16.5 in some very warm regions.
There's a bit of leeway in it. I think people, generally speaking, the research was that people didn't like to buy a 16% wine that said 16% because it felt a little bit too much. Like, we could draw the line at 15 and a bit, but 16 was too much. And yet you could be 1.5 percentage points over the thing that you state on the label.
Yeah.
So your 15 might be 16.5. And I think where it's coming from the hotter parts of Napa, it probably will be. And certainly those big zins and things. So back to 11 is very cool.
So we're in Australia and we're drinking Peter Layman Semillon. And I'm always a big fan of Semillon from Margaret River. And so this is obviously called Margaret because it's from Barossa.
Yeah.
So Margaret is a family name in the Peter Layman stable. So it can be a little bit confusing to see Margaret as, you know, if you're a studier of wine, you go, Margaret, Barossa, that's not right. But this is Barossa Valley, so a little bit warmer, but it does have these nice cool pockets where they can grow some Semillon. You know, they're early picked to keep the acidity high and obviously the sugar and ripeness a little bit lower. But what Semillon does over time, and this is a 2015 vintage, is it's all stainless steel. But as it gets a little bit older, it gets this richness, this nuttiness. This not as much as when you go to Hunter Valley. And Hunter Valley Semillon, it tastes like it's been rubbed with an oak tree, and it hasn't. But you see, you've got these beautiful fresh flavours, like the lime, the citrus, the lemon. There's some cheesy feet in there, apparently. And some blue cheese, and that honey, that kind of that beeswax, that salinity, that savoury texture to it as well. And I think this is a phenomenal food wine. This with a cheese board or something like that is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Tyrrells are definitely up there in the legends.
Tyrrell's that one is phenomenal, but it's a pretty penny. It's
expensive.
probably at least double what this is, if not a little bit more. But Tyrrells were one of the founders of Hunter Valley Semillon.
Yeah.
They've been making it for years.
I want to go back to Sophia's point because this is a very, very interesting one. So there is a new duty system for wine which charges you a lot more depending on how much alcohol there is in the wine, which on the proponents say brings it into line with other drinks, and the critics say adds a heck of a lot of money onto the already most taxed drink in the country, in the most taxed country for wine in Europe. So, and probably the world, in fact. So it's I get their point why they do it, but it's a tricky one. But certainly there's going to be, come next year, a lot of what they're starting to call session wines, like those session beers, which are sort of sitting around about either under the 8.5% mark, which nicely saves a lot of tax, or even under the 3.5% mark, because that's another big tax jump, in fact, or tax drop as you go under 3.5%. So I think I haven't tried any yet. I'm looking forward to it.
I've had a couple of there's a brand called Mid, which is at 7%, and I've had a couple of them. I've not seen and I've had a few non-alcoholics, but I've not had any of the 3.5s yet.
No, not yet. But they're going to be there because there's such an economic driver for it.
You know what? I'm going to save judgment. I'm not going to give my opinion. I'm just going to save judgment until I get to try some, and then I will report back.
Yes. Absolutely. We will see a boom in Vino Verde. We would have put it in, actually, but it's got this little light spritz to it, and we felt that would be lost in the rebottling process. So,
but we do as we get on further.
We will talk on Portuguese wines. Yeah,
being a trend this year.
Portugal's definitely a trend this year, and Vino Verde a huge trend. Absolutely. This is another excellent question. So this is already, nearly 9 years old. How much cellar life would a wine like this have?
Ian,
good question.
You should buy 6 bottles of it and drink it now.
Have one every year and then tell us how it is.
This will continue to go. 11% is lower alcohol, but it's still not stupidly low. As long as the wine's kept correctly, it'll also go another 10, 15 years easily as a Semillon. Is it going to get a lot better than this? A lot nuttier? Maybe not. You're at peak drinking now. It'll continue going for another 5, 8 years, maybe.
Yeah.
But once again, it's with a lot of aging wine. It really does depend how you like it. If you like something that's kind of big, fruity, and jammy, that you want to drink these things young. If you like something that has these kind of more tertiary kind of flavors, you want to be having them a little bit older. But I think this is good for drinking right now.
Yeah, I think so. And I absolutely. It's funny because obviously on the tasting notes that you've put down for the oysters, gouda, and sea bass, which is a cracking
but not
range of things.
Not on the same plate.
Not on the same plate. I'm presuming that was definitely the answer to that one. But I think it stands up because of its weightiness. You so often get the lighter wines get lost against stronger flavoured foods. And this is the answer. The Semillon, especially the Aussie Semillons, are so weighty and they can cope with a bit more oomph food. And so I had it with some pork the other night, and it worked really, really, really well. So,
and I think so. And I think
a go.
This is probably on the edge. You've got to have a big kind of fatty, meaty oyster for this. But what they'll do, once again, you go Semillon. Sometimes they'll do a young Semillon at like oyster shucking parties, and instead of putting like mignonette on it and stuff like that,
oyster shucking parties. Is this a thing?
Yes,
it's not in my social group. It should be. I wish there were oyster shucking parties in my social
group. They get all these fresh oysters out, pop it open, and then just put a little dash of Semillon on it and do the oyster. Happy
good.
Days.
And it's going well with paella. Excellent. That's see, it's such a versatile wine. And we don't have enough of it. I think that's a real discovery for me. So I'm certainly going to be drinking a bit more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've actually
for
got
oysters. That would probably be a
Clare Valley
better
Riesling.
pairing.
Well,
Yes.
you know what, Sophia? If you collect the oysters, right, I will bring both Clare Valley Riesling and
Semillon.
some Semillon, and we'll have a little taste off. I think
It won't be shucking at all.
everyone will be winning. So there we go. Fantastic. Do you want to talk about another one of your videos while we go on to the next wine?
I don't know if I trust you to shuck the oysters, Alex, not unless you wear your special gloves. My special gloves.
Have you got them there? Alex,
Actually, it's great. It's a bit like going back into Michael Jackson again.
so yeah.
because my one of my top tips is that my little trend for this year is that I think that that it's not going to be to do with wines per se. I think we're going to be going big on ham.
Put your ham on away.
Yes, we will be eating more Iberian food and the ham, which goes beautifully with that. I'm not going to try cutting it now because I probably will cut my finger off. So that would be a
That'd be great live. wouldn't it?
poor choice. But yes, ham is one of my big trends, and especially Cinco Jotas, 5 Jacks ham from near Seville. Do I mean Seville? Probably.
I don't know what you mean sometimes.
Norfolk Coast for Brancaster oysters. Ooh, I haven't done that.
I love this chat today.
Yeah, this is
Everyone's
great
getting
chat.
involved today. Everyone's
Excellent.
getting involved. Okay, so
Okay. Well, wine number 3. Where are we going to now? We're going to red, aren't we?
no.
No, rosé. Well, it's nearly red. It's so deep. I haven't tried this one yet. Okay, I'm quite looking forward to this. So, when we were umming and ahhing about what our trends would be, obviously rosé has been a trend for a while. We're not saying anything desperately new like rosé is going to be big. It's on a march. It is. If you plot the percentage white red versus rosé, the rosé percentage is going up like absolute crazy, and that is not going to stop. I think what's quite interesting here, though, what we were quite intrigued by, is a lot of the rosés are very, very, very. You could almost sort of call them orangey, couldn't you? They're
They're very
only
light,
this
salmony,
light
very
salmony.
pale. It's almost like they walked them past the skins and went away. It's a white wine that's got embarrassed.
It got it. Yes, exactly. And that's fine.
Oh, I
So
like that. I'm going to jot
what
that
we
down.
think is that there are so many other styles of rosé in the world, and they use a lot more of the skins to give a little bit more character to it. And I've got no problem with those beautiful pale Provençal rosés. They're delicious and they sell well for a reason. We think that we're going to see a lot more variety in rosé, a lot more skin content, a lot more colour, and we're going to see a bit of a revival of some wines like Tavel,
Bandol.
some of those great French classics.
And I think the point we need to pull across is people need to not get too hung up on the colour, because
move it on. Yeah.
we used to be in 2 camps. We used to be south of France, Provence, light, dry, fresh, or California, deep, pink, strawberries and cream, sugar, white Zinfandel. And that was
Mateus,
or,
which
or-
is frankly not that different from the
But that style. So we were either light and dry or dark and sweet. And people see something like what we've got now. You could use the Badger Cam and show it. Well, actually, I say do that.
I haven't got the badge cam. What am I trying to show?
The colour.
Oh, the
How
colour.
deep that
But
colour.
they've got one in the glass
Yeah,
in front
I
of them.
know,
Oh,
but,
right.
you
Okay,
know.
I'll bring. You want to use the badger cam? I'll use the badger cam.
Exactly. I'm just, but you look at that colour and most people go, oh, I don't want to drink that because it's going to be
sweet. Yeah.
And this has definitely some sweet flavours in there, but the residual sugar is very, very low. It's not 10, 12, 14 grams that you find in white Zinfandels, and could even be more than that. So you've got these lovely strawberry flavours, but it finishes dry. And there's the 2 things is rosé can be any colour and be great, but also rosé can be year round. It absolutely can. We get stuck that rosé should be, on a yacht in the summer, on the French Riviera, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
But my big thing is when we talk about what we eat and when we have it, and I know when food is seasonal, sometimes some of the stuff we eat in the winter is more gamey and cries out more for a red wine. But if we just say we're having a glass of wine, during the winter, we put the heating on and get our house to a nice 20, 21 degrees.
Yep.
And during the summer, we stick our air conditioning on and get our house to a nice 20, 21 degrees. So year round,
It's not that
we
different
don't
almost,
really
yeah.
have that much of a temperature change in our, and there's the mood, there's the outside, there's whatever. But I don't think there needs to be this drastic, I can't drink rosé now because it's September. It makes no sense.
I think
Is
this is a
Magda
very,
inviting everyone?
very sippable wine, and especially on the yacht in the French Riviera, which I'm not.
Is that for online wine tasting club live in Saint Tropez?
Yes,
That's a
that would be
great
great.
idea.
That would be great.
That we might have to
Cruising
increase the
around,
subscription a little bit to do that.
I would buy this prove a point to my dark rosé hating friends. Now, also potentially,
So
your white Zinfandel
Joanna,
friends.
send us a list of addresses, and we'll send you an invoice over. We'll just send them out, and we can write a little note from you, handwritten out to all your friends.
Try this.
Try this.
Try it. But the ironic thing about this is that this is Primitivo Rosé, and Primitivo is kind of the same grape as Zinfandel. So it is really...
Are you telling everyone we poured them a white Zinfandel?
We poured you a white Zinfandel. Obviously, it's made in a completely different way, and it doesn't have that sugar in it. But it is ultimately the same grape, and you do still have those. But the flavor profile is quite different. It's not got that sort of confected,
It's really interesting, and not all white Zinfandels are like that. A long time ago, when I still lived in the States, we did this wine tasting thing called Vino versus Vino, which me and Alex do now. If you ever want us to come and hang out at your office or home and do it, and we did. It was France versus California, and it was a rosé round.
Oh gosh!
And I picked I say it was a white Zinfandel. They called it Zingri, and from a winery called Storybook Mountain.
Okay.
And it was Zinfandel, but done in this real pale Provence style. And the vote went, and that won. And I just said, just before anyone, gets upset about this, that, the other, because there was 9 votes. I'm like, some of you voted as your favourite wine of the day as a white Zinfandel. And it was this wine bar with a fair few kind of, I know what I know about. And everyone's like, I hope that wasn't me. And I'm like, yes, you voted for a white Zinfandel over a Provence rosé. But it just showcases that when you taste something blind and you don't have the preconceived notions, it's really fun.
And also, while people get snobby about white Zin, it was the way into wine for a lot of people. It was, which goes nicely with this influencer thing. Talking of influencers, let's have a look at some Instagram influencers who are doing really what is unambiguously really good work, going through and looking for good bargains in the shops. I think that's a really useful aspect to what's going on.
Absolutely.
So I will hand over to this guy.
This is Aldi's wine of the week. It's the specially selected Gavi. It's £4.99 at the moment until the end of the weekend. Let's give it a try. This Gavi is from northwest Italy, Piemonte. It's the same sort of place that Barolo comes from. You're buying your Italian wine. It says DOCG on the neck here. That's a good indication of quality. I'll always pick a Gavi off a wine list. I think it's so reliable, so delicious. It's like a Pinot Grigio on steroids. It's just got more flavour, more complexity. It's really well balanced, nice and fresh. It's crisp, it's zesty, it's juicy. $4.99, it's fantastic. This was already one of the recommendations on my supermarket wine finder, but it's a pleasure to try it again and give it another go. But if you want to see those other recommendations, make sure you give me a follow or head to the link in my bio.
There we go, Vine Tribe. That's a really good video. I can't see why I can't get that up. And $4.99 for a DOCG. It's not just a bargain. It's actually slightly wrong, isn't it? What's going on? There we are. So yeah, I think it's worth just talking about those things. While I'm delighted, from my consumer hat on, that is fantastic. From a wine point of view, $4.99 is getting. Well, it's really stopped being a sustainable price point for wine in this country long ago, because you take your 20% VAT off, so you're down to £4. You then take the £2, was it 70-ish?
Yeah, and I think Sophia's got a great point here. That when you take that back to what it really is, it's not priced right.
Yeah, it's just not
my humble
right,
opinion.
Yeah. It's a loss leader at that point. Isn't it?
And there's their ability to put that there, and it's fine. But that doesn't really showcase when someone then dives in and goes, how much should a Gavi DOCG be? And people go, well, your average one's 12 to 15 quid, and it's I buy mine for $4.99. It's
and only the big supermarkets like that can do that sort of deal, and it's to encourage you in the door to buy
Your
the
milk
stuff
and
they
beans.
make the high margins on, and that's good from a consumer point of view. Apart from the fact that it makes the wineries unsustainable, and that's not good. So. Where's the badge cam? This is Primitivo. Look at that colour again. This is Produttori di Mandoria. Mandoria, a very pretty town in Puglia. Don't try to find anything at lunchtime there to eat. Everywhere's closed. It's a pain in the neck. You end up having to feed your children horse with ear-shaped pasta, and only realise that it's horse afterwards. So, what was it? It was chicken. It's chicken. Yep, don't worry, definitely chicken.
It was.
So,
but you look at this colour. Your skin contact is about 12 hours to get this lovely, rich, kind of like corally pink colour.
And the
real
the
crunchy
Primitivo's
red fruit, and they're like cranberries and stuff. It's lovely.
Well, it's quite a fruit which has got this really strong colour. Yeah, you get the grapes sort of slightly uneven sizes and slightly uneven levels of ripeness, which is the challenge with Primitivo. But it's got so much wonderful stuff in the skins, the flavours, the colours, and it makes no sense to make a wine like a Provence wine from a grape like that. So I think that's a trend. More rosé and more deeply coloured rosés. And
Darker rosés year round.
Darker rosés and year round.
I like that idea.
So that's our trend number 3. I have to remind myself what number 4 is. Yes. Now, we've had a few requests from people to go and do some weird and wonderful things, and we absolutely have that planned. I've got some nice contacts that I've been making with the wines of Ukraine, and we definitely need to get some of their stuff in. There's some, I want to say great stories, but it's not great stories, but it's a wonderful tales of overcoming adversity in these wineries. And there's one wine which was made by a winery where a Grad missile landed slap bang in the middle of the vineyard, and they had to try to work around it because it was pruning time of year. So they were having to prune very, very carefully around this live Russian missile that was sticking out in the middle of their vineyard. So do you know what they called that wine?
The bomb?
No. Good guess, though. They called it Grad Cru, like Grand Cru. Yeah,
word.
so I think that
sounds like that's something I'd name a wine.
Almost like it's named by us. So, but for this one, we're not going to Ukraine. We're going to Bulgaria.
Well, yes, we are. There we are. Okay, so we are in the Bessa Valley here, which is Thracian lowlands, the Rhodope Mountains, and this is what. When people make great wine somewhere else and they want to go and do something different. And I think the trend here is we're going to see more great wines from, and I say new places, but it's not new places. It's from places we're not used to drinking a lot of wine from. I think there's going to be more accessibility to different places of wine. Bulgaria, Moldova, Romania.
And countries that we used to buy a lot more wine from back in the sort of 60s, 70s. And then the quality just fell off a cliff and it started getting really, really bad. They were doing all sorts of, under the communist rule, they were the opposite of sustainable viticulture. They were the opposite of regenerative viticulture. They were just basically being flogged to try to produce as much wine as they could. And in many cases, literally, as a lot of the viticulturalists and winemakers got sent to the gulag because they weren't producing enough wine to meet their targets from central government. But it's a brilliant. I mean, you think about where Bulgaria is. It's warm, in the summer.
Yeah, warm to get
really
ripeness,
warm.
But steady enough. Not a load of rain, so you get a nice dry growing season. And the owner of this has owned properties in Bordeaux previously.
Count Stefan von Neipberg,
There we are.
which is an excellent name. I love that. It sounds like it's from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
So they've been able to take these years of knowledge of one of the most steeped in history and
Yeah.
great wine growing regions in the world, and transplant that knowledge to somewhere else, knowing what they can do.
Yeah.
But less rules and regulations as to what you can grow, when you can grow it, how you can grow it. I would guess, I've not been on a Zoopla recently, but I'm guessing a bit of land in Bulgaria is probably slightly cheaper than on the banks of the Gironde.
Yes, very much so. And yeah, I mean, it's a rapidly growing and developing country, and the economy's booming, and they've got beautiful beaches and they've got great skiing resorts. And but I think what's quite cool for me, what I love about this wine, is that it is that old-fashioned Bordeaux blend of the Bordeaux grapes
Plus.
and Syrah, which is now the Rhone grape, isn't it? Really? So
Absolutely.
That used to be a much bigger deal, and then it got banned. You can't put Syrah in a Bordeaux anymore. So we're kind of, this is actually more sort of old school and authentic than a lot of Bordeaux.
And you see a lot of New World places who are making a Bordeaux style wine are chucking a bit of Syrah in. You go up to Washington State and it's
tasting notes.
Merlot, Cab, Syrah chucked in there. And I think it adds this level of texture and spice and complexity that I think is really nice, because you look at what you get in Bordeaux, you get the Merlot that gives you that fruit, that jam, that richness. Cabernet Sauvignon will give you kind of body and structure. No Cab in this one, by the way. Then you've got the Petit Verdot, which gives you kind of aromatics and lovely floral notes.
Petit Verdot, it's a funny one. No one ever puts very much of it in. They only put a teeny little bit. It's like this aromatic lift.
However, this has got a chunk. This is 14%.
This is 14%. I have tried 100% in California, and that was quite cool. You'd expect it to be over the top, given how restrained people are, but it produced a jolly nice wine. So this has got a bit of age on it. And I think for people who haven't joined us before, we tend to split our tasting flavors, our tasting notes, into 3 different categories. So we'll just very quickly just go through this. The first category is flavors that come from the fruit itself, basically. Primary flavors. So our this would be things like strawberry, cherry, blueberry, those kind of things.
Plum, blackcurrant.
So if we look at that,
See, I've
we've
got
got
the answers
plum, blackcurrant, cherry, blackberry, sour cherry. Those are primary flavors. These are from the grapes themselves. Now next, and this is a great little demonstration, we have bit of spice, chocolate, vanilla, clove. Those are all secondary.
Is that why we talked about them?
Second, it is.
Nice.
Yeah, you see what we did there. And it turned, those ones come from the winemaking process, whether it's from oak barrels or whether it's from stirring it all around or from oxygen contact, all those kind of things. And then
what comes after secondary? Can I?
Is it low pH?
No, it's tertiary.
Tertiary flavors. The third category, tertiary flavors,
which are your developmental flavors, which are your leathers, and when there's things like tobacco and mushrooms and forest floor and things like that. And
it helps smooth things out as well.
And this
get super smooth.
And this is where I came back with there was a comment earlier about how long to leave the Semillon for.
Yeah.
With this, if you drunk this a year ago, 2 years ago, there would have been a lot more primary. Yeah, a lot more primary. So more fruit, less leather.
Yeah.
You can drink this right now. This is the point of it. And I think this is very nicely balanced.
It's
got a little bit of
and
everything.
as George says, it's not lost its fruit, because eventually it becomes that.
Exactly. So you leave it another year, another year. The cherry and the plum will fade away a little bit, and then it will be more leathery. So, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Your choice.
Yeah.
It's the same with the Bordeaux. I've been lucky enough to taste some very, very old Bordeaux through my time, but sometimes they get so old that they taste like you've sneezed in a library and inhaled the dust, and that's all there is. It's done. It's important to get enough fruit and enough balance, and
I think it's grape dependent as well. Like obviously this has got Merlot, which is people say it's a slightly smoother grape. It depends what you do with it, of course. But it has Syrah and it has Petit Verdot. Those can be pushed so that they come out a little bit grippy. And if they are that grippy thing, you're not going to want to drink it immediately. It's going to be pretty unpleasant. But you can wait 5-6 years, and
I think
suddenly it's like this.
It's just so nicely down the middle. It's got nice fruit. It's got it's 14.5% alcohol, so it's bold enough that it can develop, but it's not big enough that it's going to blow your head off.
So there's no Cabernet in this one at all.
No,
I'm sure there used to be in the older blends of it.
I think it changes on a yearly basis. I think they do grow all the Bordeaux varietals in the Best Valley. So I think they probably had their pick of what they want to do. Don't quote me on that.
Don't quote me on that. Yeah,
they may well do. So, but yeah, I just think this is exciting that somewhere, and I think what we've had for a long time is we taste a wine from someone new. And English wine had this for a long time. And when I lived in the States, Virginian wine had the same thing. We used to go, this is pretty good for an English wine. This is pretty good for a whatever. This is just a good wine. It doesn't matter that it's not, this is quite good for being Bulgarian.
Yeah.
It's just good.
And Sophia's hit it on the head there. I mean, it's holding on to wine in barrel is very expensive because barrels, especially 225 litre sort of Bordeaux style barrels, they're not very space efficient. It's much, much, much cheaper if you were going to hold on to it to put it in a giant tank, or it's much, much cheaper, get it in the bottle, get it out the door and make it someone else's problem. So aging it in barrels takes money because you have to build buildings, you have to keep them at a nice right temperature. It costs money. So if you've got cheaper land and cheaper buildings, then yeah, absolutely, it's much better to do that for.
But you take Joanna's point there. The problem is that we do this and then we tell everybody, about the lesser known region we found, and then suddenly everyone wants a piece of it.
So then, how much would a 2018 Bordeaux that tastes, I mean, as good as that? That's going to be
40, 50.
Yeah, I think so. It's certainly that's got the quality of a really good Bordeaux producer. So, and he's from Chateau Canon-la-Gaffelière. But clay limestone soils, a little bit different. It's quite maybe a bit similar to the right bank of Bordeaux. There's certainly similarities, and I think the end product's
But if you look at, you go through that whole thing, and we're doing rivers next month, so I'm not going to get over the top. But you've got the Danube that goes all the way through this region, all the way down through, from Germany, Austria, Bulgaria, Hungary. So you've got this wash through of silt and stuff from the rivers that are coming all the way through Europe.
You get less of it if you did regenerative viticulture, though.
Okay, great. But it just showcases that these wines travel, and people will travel down the river to new places. This, and it's you find your next spot on the river that you can grow stuff. It's absolutely fantastic.
Some very nice tasting notes there.
Yeah. Joanna, if anyone orders this tomorrow and they've not been on the tasting, we know who's told them. Okay, we know who's told them.
We haven't got many of some of these wines in stock, so actually, this might be a good point to just say, look, we are deciding to try to improve our personal level of service, we'd like to, and it's always very difficult because we never know quite what people are going to buy when they buy bottles in. We do this with the tasting. The tasting's fun, but ultimately, sometimes you find something that's really cool and you want to buy. And then you go onto the website and you find that there was over one bottle in stock and Alex drank it the previous night with his dinner, which is true in this case. But that one's still there. I did buy it. So yeah, we are offering basically Dan and Jamie as our wine advisors for you. And so Dan's going to be a everyday sort of guy. He's going to be just going through and just catching up with people and saying, hey, haven't heard from you in wine. If you want to, just email dan.smith@onlinetasting.co and he will give you any advice. He's got a few special offers himself that he.
So everyone should have got.
Favorites.
Everyone should have got in their little tasting pack. They should have got the wine list for 2024, which has got all the details inside. So we won't overly bore you with it, but there are. You'll see at the back.
Always pull stuff in.
Dan. So A, if you want something, let us know. B, Dan has license to do his own discounts. But I know who's giving the discounts to. So
But if you are putting together a big event like a big office party or a big wedding or something, have a chat to Jamie and he will very gladly give you that personal advice on that. Yeah. So personal wine,
and we're now starting in-person tasting as well. We did me and Alex did a couple in the city before Christmas. So I think there's a picture of you in your.
Is there?
The picture of you doing a wine tasting? Look at that! Look at that! We were out. down Bishopsgate
We
in
had
London.
some lovely feedback from that.
So,
it was really nice.
If
And
you
I
want
enjoyed it
us
as
to
well.
come to your house, your people, your party, we can
Yep.
do that as well. But anyway, that's enough oversales.
Let's go back onto the topic of influencers before we go on to wine number 5, which I think we will do shortly. When I want to savour this, it's so nice. There are some people who kind of cross this world between, are they influencers or are they authors? There's people like Jamie Good who write fantastic textbooks on all sorts of things like regenerative viticulture or wine science, and also produce very, very nice, quick little sort of minute-long videos that are optimized for social media. There's someone who I think certainly I was aware of from before I became a wine person was definitely Wine Folly and Madeleine Paquette, who has done a fabulous job over years doing maps, doing
diagrams, just
tasting
making
books.
it accessible and easy to understand and easy to follow. And what I like about, especially the books, is the consistency of style, that if you understand it from one grape, you can take those diagrams and explanation and plug it to the next one and the next one. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
If I was being hypercritical, I'd say sometimes she slightly oversimplifies things, but the problem is that's because I'm a super geek. And when I sit back to think how the normal person would do it, and there's just a couple of things going, like, how sweet are these grapes? And it tells you if you pick up a bottle of Merlot, it'll be this sweet, or you pick up a bottle of Zinfandel, it'll be this sweet. Things like that I find a little bit trickier, but she knows her stuff, and she's made a conscious choice that for the purpose of most people, that's the practical information you would want to have.
It's ballpark that if a Pinot Noir will be lighter than a Merlot 90% of the time.
Anyway, let's have a little look at a 52-second video from Madeleine.
Most people don't know this, but the opening diameter of a wine glass greatly affects the way it tastes. A larger diameter opening, say above 2.5 inches, is going to make red wines taste less aggressive with softer tannins and acidity. A smaller diameter, below 2.5 inches, will make red wines taste fresher, spicier, with bolder tannins. So, depending on what you prefer, it's a really good idea to pay attention to this small detail when you're shopping for glassware. It will greatly improve your love of wine. I hope this helps you drink better wine, and if you'd like to learn more, definitely check out Wine Folly courses. They're online at winefolly.com. I'm Madeleine Puckett. Happy tasting.
There we go. So, and really good, it's just a bite-sized chunk of information, just a simple thing to get. And yes, I know there's a lot of people in this chat that know that, but there's probably a lot of people who don't. So, it's I think it's a really, really good that we've got people doing that advice. And it can rile the super experts. They go, why they've simplified this? It might not be the case if you've got this angle on that or whatever. For most people,
I think that's the case with anything, though. I think if you're an expert in something, there's a certain level of information that you want to have and you expect.
Yeah.
Across anything. If some people take a car, for example. Some people will just go, that's a nice looking car. Yeah. I'd like to buy one.
Does it have a big boot?
Yeah. And other people want to, know all this and this and this and this. And someone will give a piece of information that is technically, we'll go back to wine for this. If I turn around and say, if it's in Burgundy and the grape's white, what is it?
Yeah, well, most people would hopefully say Chardonnay.
Oh, but no, I was talking about the Sauvignon Blanc from Saint-Brie. and that's the thing. You can have these tiny little nuances, but I think if someone's giving across the board good quality, that is the people want to pick the one thing. And that's why when I teach, I go, I know there's always a, Pinot Noir is red. Well, not when it's in Champagne or made as a white Pinot Noir. Of course it is, but that's that's what it is.
Yes, indeed. So sometimes it's okay to simplify because we're dealing with a world where actually most of the people are getting the information from Gary Barlow's made this wine, and number one rosé sold in the country is now Kylie Minogue's. So
she should be so lucky.
Well, she is. She's so lucky. But I don't know what influence she had on that wine. But if that's what it took for somebody to go and pick up that bottle instead of picking up a bottle of beer and helping the wine industry and bringing in more profits, and yes, some of it's going to Kylie, then does she not deserve it? Is she not? I mean, she's taken a risk putting her name on this thing.
But you look how many wines are out there. There's 100 different ways to have to be able to cut your way to the top, and whether it's quality, whether it's influencers, whether it's price point, those things all have to be considered, don't they?
But it's also quite risky putting a celebrity's name on a wine bottle, because if you're tying, you build up a certain level of production capacity. Celebrities' fame is a little bit fleeting these days. It's very easy to get.
Many celebrities can be silly boys, can't they?
Silly boys, silly girls.
Silly people.
Suddenly they are persona non grata, and I think that is a very dangerous thing, because I feel wineries suddenly got 100 million litres of Philip Schofield wine, and suddenly Philip Schofield is not the
flavour of the month,
then that's a bit of a liability for them, and you're going to have to somehow rebrand it and sell it fast, and that's tricky. So yeah, that's I think that's the challenge with those kind of celebrity wines. How's that part of an influence thing? Well, I suppose you're looking at it, you're being influenced into buying that wine because it's associated with that person, aren't you?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough.
But they did that. You buy a set of Nike football boots because a certain football player wears them, don't you? And you buy this because a celebrity drinks it.
I haven't bought a pair of football boots since I was about 14, but let's skip over that one. Maybe Kylie should do a dark Primitivo Rosé. I love that idea. Let's get on the case. But yeah, what do you think of the Bordeaux like wine from Enira in Bulgaria? How we enjoyed that one before we move on?
He just doesn't want to move on. He just wants another one of the
just
same.
Enjoying that. That's lovely.
Fine. We don't need to move on. It's okay.
But I tell you what, I love this one as well.
Oh, that's all right then.
Yeah.
So, should we do that then? So, next move on. We are going to where this is another one of the trends that Alex is forecast for the year. And, rather than, a particular style, he said Portugal.
I just said Portugal. I did just say Portugal.
And I said we're not a fan of blanket statements at the Online Wine Tasting Club, and that was in fact
that was quite a blanket
statement. Portugal but less so. I think more so than Portugal. Still wines from Portugal that aren't fortified.
Yeah, I think port's going to remain a bit of a struggle to sell. In fact, probably increasingly so with the tax and the focus on getting rid of sugar. Let's move the tasting notes on. But Portugal, I think the reason why I think it's quite an interesting country for still wines. One is obviously Vinho Verde. People are loving this fresh, slightly effervescent style of whites, which just cut through and are so aromatic. And Vinho Verde is great. The Alvarinho is you look at how it's doing in Spain and Rías Baixas, fantastic wines. Just so versatile and so delicious. But I think where I've always struggled more with Portuguese wine has been on the reds, because the reds were a little bit rough. This is a horrible generalization, but the ones I had from the sort of Douro, which were made from blends of all sorts of different grapes, Touriga Nacional, and lots and lots of grapes, and we've probably got a few of them in this. It's taken them a while to kind of get on top of it and work out where to take them. And I think it's taken a lot of science as well, because people didn't know what their vineyards were planted with. And quite often they went out into these vineyards, which were hundreds of years old. And it's a really tricky thing, because you can't reliably make wine that's harvested on the same day that's made from different grapes in the same vineyard, because they'll be at different levels of ripeness, different levels of progression of the flavours and the tannins. And you really need to know what you're harvesting so that you can take the measurements and you can work out what to do with it. In fact, you might harvest that little bit on that day and harvest that a week later or 2 weeks later. So it is a really, really tricky thing, making sense of these old historical vineyards, but they are cool. There's lots of different grapes. There's lots of different old vines, and old vines make concentrated flavours. The problem was when you combine these two things, Portuguese red blends, well, practically all of them were red blends, weren't they?
Yeah. Whether they wanted to be or not,
they were all blends, and it all just went into a big tank and it all just got made into it. And it wasn't... When you stopped the fermentation halfway through by chucking in a bunch of brandy, the sugar balanced all of that tannins and made port, and that's a lovely, wonderful thing. Your sugar was the dominating thing.
Yeah, it could balance the tannins, all the alcohol,
and it made a great drink that's been. But when you fermented it dry and turned all the sugar into alcohol, they were a bit rough and ready. I think what has happened is an absolute revolution in winemaking in Portuguese reds, and they have made some real crowd pleasers now, and I've started to see them coming in. We do all the packaging for Naked Wines for their tasting packs and advent calendars, and for Laithwaites and their tasting packs and advent calendars, and it is, and the Wine Society as well. And we've spotted some of these coming in, and they've been just getting better and better. So we thought we'd grab one in, and we tried it, and thankfully it was really nice. So yeah.
I think you've got nice fruit, nice fruit.
Oh, yeah.
It's lovely. We've got a point.
Some tasting notes.
We've got a point from George here about our tasting technique.
Oh, good question.
So there's two ways you can do it. So there's a lot of people who will rinse their glass, use a new glass, that kind of stuff. And if I'm at a
trade tasting in London,
no, not so. If I'm at a trade tasting, I'm going around with the same glass.
Yeah,
it's not rinsed. It's not that. What I do is, what I like to do is I'll swirl and I'll take when I go to a new wine, I'll take the tiniest little sip like that and ignore it. I take nothing from that, and that almost coats my palate with the new wine and gets rid of anything else. You can, if you go from red back to white, you probably want to rinse your glass or change because you're going to have something in there. The issue you have sometimes, if you rinse with water, you're never going to get all that water out.
No.
So you're going to actually slightly water down your wine. But I also feel that if you pour, your 50 ml or 100 ml on top of that half ml of wine that's left, unless it's something hugely potent, like you've gone from a Gewürztraminer to a Pinot Grigio or something like that, if you can taste that 1% of a 1% of a 1% that's left, you're some level of absolute super taster. And there's the final point is, before we come on the show and do this, we've gone through all the wines, we've tasted all the wines. I completely agree.
But we put them in order of
to try and go up there. So you see a lot of people, people go, oh, when they go to a wine tasting, should I spit wine out?
Yeah.
Depends how many wines you're tasting.
Yeah.
Like yesterday I was in London at a tasting, and there was, and I didn't taste them all, but there was about 1,100 wines open to be tasted. So at that point, you've got to swirl, taste, spit.
Yeah, your taste is gone.
But if you go to a tasting that's got 10 wines, 12 wines, 20 wines, go and have fun with it. Sometimes the wines are too good to spit out. So, it's completely up to you.
I think it's harder at things like the trade tastings like that, because you go from one table to another, and you see a winemaker, and you might start with his light white, and you've just been at another table and you've just had that big red. So that you do need to clear your palate. But when we've got control of the order, generally speaking, there's been a couple of occasions where we've got it wrong. We've gone, oh yeah, actually tasting back, this one should have gone before that one, and apologies for that. But we try to make it progress so that you get that stronger flavours going through.
You do have two ways, because sometimes you'll do those progressive flavours so it gets bolder, but sometimes we have an absolutely stunner of a spectacular one. I'm like, I just want to do this one last, because if I do this in the middle, the one below it doesn't get a fair shake. But while people finish this one off, we
haven't even seen the tasting notes. Should we bring those up?
Let's bring them up.
Yeah.
So as we got them, but I did do a quick interview about trends and influences with Matthew Quaff with Spoff. So he was nice enough to spend a little bit of a time with me. So just kind of, he's relatively new into the Instagram world and trying to kind of find his way in it. So I had a little chat with him about what he was doing and where he thought he could get to in the Instagram world, and what he thought the trends were going to be for this year. So we can do a quick little video with me and him, and once we come back from that, we'll get on to wine number 6.
See you in a sec.
From all the content I've seen, there's been loads of people going, no, dry January, no.
Yeah, there seems to be a bit of a drive, not away, away from dry January, but more kind of, calm down a little bit. Let's not go, off the rails and stop, but just kind of a lot of people in that kind of reconsidering their relationship with alcohol during January. Because the people that I know do dry January, then February comes and it's catch up what you missed in January.
That's it. Like, I mean, some people are calling it damp January. I'm like, oh, that's a bit of a rubbish name.
That sounds awful, though, doesn't it? That
could be worse.
Awful.
Could be moist.
Yeah,
could be moist. January. My name's Matt Spofford. I'm actually a trades translator, linguist by trade, and always been into wine. Probably from when I was starting off living in France and Germany in 2010, 2011 on Erasmus, just going around all of the local exhibitions and that, and just getting to know some of the local producers. So as I say, that this year and sort of the back end of last year, I started a online wine tasting with local wine school backers that are based in Liverpool city centre. So did a tasting with them, and then decided to. I loved it so much, decided to do the level 1, and then gradually moving on to level 2 and hopefully level 3. And I thought, well, why not try and use it and as a way of systematically tasting and reviewing things and doing something I enjoy doing. I've always enjoyed tasting, always enjoyed the detail aspect of wine, because I've always been into things that have had painstaking level of detail, like American football, cricket, all that kind of stuff. So this year I said, no, I'm going to really take the plunge. I'm going to start with the full Instagram. And then I found a sort of a mentoring program called Drinklusive that's being done by AD Smith with the Three Drinkers. Applied with that, and I didn't get it this year, but I thought it'd be a good experience, because obviously I'm relatively new in the game compared to a lot of these guys. I wanted to see what they were doing and see where I could fit within the space, because I'm a multilingual business owner. I've got a disability, so I feel as though there is kind of a gap in the market for what I'm kind of offering in a way. But as I say, I'm still early in the game, so I'm still trying to figure out what it all looks like. And I kind of need that experience with writing for other people and stuff like that. So maybe we could do something down the line. I don't really know.
So as someone who's new into the Instagram wine field and trying to get into it, two things is: A, where do you get your inspiration from for posts? You have kind of like a style you go after, and then also which other Instagram or TikTok or other wine journalists do you follow or read to that you think are important that other people should be keeping an eye on?
So I mean, I do have a little bit of a wine journal now, because I found that I needed somewhere to put my notes. So I've got this particular journal from Doug Paulding. So I've just been sort of exploring things really. I've got the Wine Folly Magnum edition as well, so I've been kind of looking through that and saying, oh, that particular grape variety looks interesting, let's see if I can find it. And as I say, I'm just kind of tasting as I go. And I've always grown up with Port and Malbec, sort of the really strong reds that kind of smack you in the face with flavor and that. And white's never really been a thing, but I kind of recently came across the Chilean Sauvignon Blancs and really thought they were quite interesting. And there's a lot of bracing acidity and gooseberry flavors in there. This is the thing, is it's great to have a wide variety of voices, I suppose, but you could argue that the sort of the expertise pool is, well, I mean, because there's so many of us, it's trying to figure out who is accurate, or say you've got the same thing in YouTube. Is you get a lot of these popular guys, and a lot of them they're just saying things for likes and stuff like that. But obviously within the wine industry, you can't really get away with that, because there is that sort of weight of tradition in a way. Is you don't want to cheat you don't want to cheat the beverage, do you? You want to give it the respect it deserves.
But 2024 coming up. Yep. What do you think is going to be, or what are you following? What are you going after? What do you think are going to be the new things to keep an eye out for in the wine world for 2024?
Well, I mean, obviously, English sparkling wine's been getting a lot of traction at the moment. Like at the back end of last year as well. I can see that continuing through this year. And I also heard that we've started being able to grow red wine grapes. I think it was Pinot Noir I heard, which in some ways is exciting, but also it's quite terrifying because it shows just how climate change is encroaching on our shores a little bit. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. But like I do follow the local producers, and they do seem to be cleaning up in the awards. Because obviously all of the French and German ones tend to get a lot of the in terms of the tradition and the over the years they've always got the people looking at them. But there definitely seems to be a space for English wine to be coming in, so I can see that coming up. And also the more lesser known wine growing regions like Georgia and Greece, I think they will be getting greater prominence. I've had quite a few of those recently. Particularly ones that are sort of made with the traditional Georgian pots. I think they're called crevries. I'm not really sure if I pronounced them correctly. I had a few of those in a local wine bar called Robeson's Wines in Liverpool. They import their own. They've got their own wine list and everything. So that's kind of got me onto those as well. I'm definitely going to try a bit more of the Baltic sides. your Hungarian, your Polish, your Georgian, that kind of stuff. So that's going to be fun. And also, and Greek, like Gino Mavro. I had one of those a couple of weeks back. That was incredible. And Moroccan Shiraz is another one.
Oh, really?
I think I had one of those the other day. It was unlike anything I've ever tasted. On the nose, you've got like really like grilled red peppers, and there's like sort of a faint whiff of like a clay pot.
But for anyone who's watching tonight and they want to follow you on your Wine Journey Instagram, where do they find you?
Yeah, so it's just Quaff with Spoff. So it's Quaff with, and then it's half of my surname, so it's SPOFF. As I say, I do comment quite a lot on the Master of Wines post, so I'm sure you'll spot me at some point. And then I have commented on a few of your things as well, Jamie. So I'm sure the listeners will find me on there. But it is Quaff with Spoff.
That's fantastic. So everyone dive in, follow Quaff with Spoff and see what Matthew is going to be getting up to in 2024 with some fantastic wines. Okay, so we are back. So, just a little bit of insight from someone who's kind of new into it, finding their feet into the influencer market. So, if you found that of a little bit of interest, give the guy a follow, Quaff with Spoff, and have a look see on his wine journey and where they're going in the world. So, what else is going on? Alex is trying to find things.
I am.
Let's have a last look at the tasting.
Let's have a
we
last
should probably
look
talk through the wine in the winemaker because we've.
Yeah, okay.
So you got your blend here,
Carlos
Lucas, and this is the River Runs Through It wine. This also, I think, hits the
River Runs Through It.
This also hits the slightly lower alcohol that we're talking about. Yes, we're 13.5%, but a lot, you would expect this to be 14, 15% kind of where it's from and the grapes that are in it. So, I think it's an absolutely beautiful wine. You've got richness, you've got tannin, you've got chewiness about it, lots of rich fruit. And I just think this is the kind of winemaker we should be looking out for coming from Portugal. These really great examples of using grapes that we've not really heard a lot about, because when we're making port, there's not a lot of people jumping out and going, this port is made with this and this and that. It's like, this is port. This is it.
Yeah.
So I think, and what's great about Portugal is there's this chance to make so many styles. You could be these beautiful, fresh Vinho Verdes from up in the north, these Syrah from down near Alicante. There's Touriga Nacional being made in Setúbal, which is absolutely beautiful. Fernand Pires, it's great. We did a great wine from Mariposa, the Encruzado Branco, absolutely beautiful wine. We did a tasting a couple of years back. And there's just everything from beautiful, light and crisp to floral and rich in the whites.
And it's still good value.
Light and easy reds. This is more in that medium kind of style. And then we have the big bold red from the south, and then obviously the port style wine. So,
well, as people are drinking less port, the grapes are still there. They've got to innovate. They've got to make new wines, and I think it's really great to see this kind of reinvention. I think it's a really nice wine. I think, to me, stylistically, it's quite a lot like the kind of Appassimento style of wines that we've seen a lot of from Italy, and are some of the most popular commercial wines out there. Like, I obviously they're not on the grand scheme of things, but when you start looking into the wines that independent wine merchants sell and wine groups like Naked sell, I think one of Naked's most popular ones is the Christian Appassimento, and it's just got that jamminess, the complexity, the fruit, the bit of richness,
drinkability.
It's just so drinkable, and it's smooth. And that was the problem. Those ones from Portugal weren't smooth enough. This is now, so I think they've nailed that. Really, really quite cool. Yeah, it's definitely a wine that likes to be a little bit warmer. That's for sure. I think it's still slightly under room temperature, but yes, out the fridge is a good idea.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that.
So there seems to be a couple of people moving on to wine number 6, and as we get onto that and move the taste notice over, we've talked about lots of different styles of influencers. You know, there's people who just want to be a bit of fun. There's people who are deep and meaningful. People who've got, you know, real geeky information. People who just do something a little bit light. However, I think hopefully, well, Alex agrees with me, but what I'm hoping that most people, you know, especially you guys on this tasting, the biggest danger with influencers are the people who are giving bad information. Misinfluencing. So,
and I don't mean they're just a casual little mistake. Like, of course, we all have occasionally mispronounced a region or said, you know, just slipped and got the wrong grape. And we've seen some truly magnificent people say things and go, "Ha ha, that's wrong." And that's true. I just want to quickly answer Helen's point, because I think this is a really interesting question. We've been plugging the white ports and things since our
forever
first tastings, and we love them. And we particularly, I judged at the canned wine competition, the International Canned Wine Awards, and one of our favourite wines that everybody loved was the Port and Tonic from was it Taylor's? I think it was. No.
I'm not sure. I wasn't there.
But canned Port and Tonic, I will have to look that up. I'll look that up in a second. Absolutely delicious and fresh and beautiful. So yeah. They could be. It's a hard sell. It's a really, really hard sell.
I think it's a hard sell because they are a lighter, fresher style, but they're not any better alcohol-wise, sugar-wise. So if people are looking for lower alcohol, lower sugar, it's a tough one. It's a really cool style, and I think, you know, if people like a port, they should be open to trying this other style, but it's tough.
I'm going to switch glass for this one. So occasionally we do switch glass.
So am I. Now we've been called out, we're switching glasses. It's like new glass for every wine since we were told about our tasting technique. But anyway, while I get this poured, should we have a little look at what we think is a bit of misinfluence?
It was Taylor's, yes. I thought it was.
Don't drink wine, drink gin, vodka, I don't care, tequila. Wine companies in America, the FDA allows a ridiculous amount of additives and chemicals that Canada and the European Union have banned. They do not exist there. They are allowed in our wines here. They are filled with these fillers and additives that help with shelter-out money, one of the leading causes of cancer.
Wow.
So it's like
money is one of the leading causes of cancer.
Serious for me, this wine company.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. You heard it here first. If that's the first time you heard that, share it with somebody, because I know.
I think is all I can start saying. So, and you know, she's an attractive lady, so people will click through and they'll watch it. But it's just there's, as with all good conspiracy theories, there's an element of truth in it. There are certainly a few things which are not permitted for winemaking. And I don't think it's for any health reasons. It's generally speaking because we just think it is wrong. Like you ask the French, should it be able to put mega purple food colouring into wine? And they'll say no. But does that make it give you cancer? No, it does not. And I don't know what these additives they claim that are going in. It's
because there's no further information given, is there? There's this only read the headlines scaremongering. So yes, so
Yeah.
I just think there's my kind of final point about influence is follow the people that A, you like,
Yeah.
B, you get enjoyment out of, C, you trust.
Yep.
And I've always said, follow a wine writer who, if they score something 95 points and you try it and you go, yeah, that's epic, and they score something 72 points and you go, yeah, that's crap. If you follow a wine writer who's got similar taste to you, that makes your life much easier when selecting and picking and those kind of things. So yeah, I think that's great.
I think that's a good summary, and I think I would add to that people should not be so judgmental in the wine industry of people who are very good at simplifying complex topics, because you can always make things more complex. You can always say, "Well, but actually, you haven't thought about this example of this or that or the other." Or most people are just want the general cases, and it is a tough skill to try to summarize what has so much nuance down into something that fits into a minute. And we've tried to do it for our minute-long videos of doing the wine. We have to have structures to try to give us a bit of even a chance. So I'm full of awe for these people who can produce a minute-long video that gets across a complex topic in that time.
Alex, how was that video I just did? Well, it was great. Apart from it was 6 minutes.
6 minutes long. Yeah, I need to cut a lot out of that. Wine producers often are. There's a lot of great communicators. I love. We've had him on the show before. I love Tom from Paso Primero. He's just so open about all the wines that he makes and the journey that he's on. I think that's lovely. I think people love to connect with that genuine feeling of, yes, I can see what you're going through. I get it. It's not just I think a lot of the bigger producers just focus too much on big glossy videos that show drone shots of the vineyards and here's a man slowly crushing a grape or something which doesn't actually have any reflection on
the final
quality at all. So yeah, I think it's a brilliant thing, but yes, be initially cautious of the people you are listening to. Podcasts are great. Elizabeth Schneider, Wine for Normal People, one of the best podcasts out there. Jim Duane, Inside Winemaking, fantastic. And of course,
The Maker and the Merchant.
The Maker and the Merchant
with
from
Lee
our very
Isaacs
own Lee
and Fergal
Isaacs.
Yes.
And Ferg. Yeah, Ferg. So there are some brilliant podcasts. If you've got a person who can do that long format stuff and produce something short and snappy, I think that's a brilliant thing.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about Wine 6. And the trend is, I think there is going to be a lot more sweet wine coming into the fore. Fortified wines less so, but sweet wine instead. And I think not paired with dessert. I think instead of dessert, we're going to see. So there's three main types of dessert wine that you'll find. So there's Botrytis Cinerea or Noble Rot that you find in Sauternes. There's ice wine, which is frozen grapes. And then there's what this is, which is late harvest. Yes, Eat, Sleep, Wine, Repeat from Janina Doyle is absolutely fantastic. There's so many. The 3050 wine podcast is really good.
UK Wine Show.
So yeah, UK Wine Show. That's fantastic. So if we've not mentioned someone, it doesn't mean we don't love them. Wine communicators. You look at people like Brad Horn, Wine Time London.
He's fantastic.
Absolutely phenomenal. There are so many great people out there, but
I love how Brad does his research before he talks to people. So it's not just asking generic questions. He knows what he's talking about, and so he does these great Instagram lives and did all the way through lockdowns and still does it. So Wine Time London, Brad Horn, absolutely worth a follow. Wine Blast with Susie and Peter, of course, listening to two MWs is got to be worthwhile, hasn't it? And they've done some really cool ones. I enjoyed their deep dive into wines of Ukraine the other day. That was cool.
Absolutely. But what do we got in the glass? So it's a 50-50 blend of Gewurz and Sauvignon Blanc, all done late harvest. And from Chile, which is maybe not where you expect to get late harvest wines from. We think about, dessert wines coming from, Alsace and from Sauternes and, the Passamento styles in Italy, the Ricciotto, the Suaves, those kind of things. Ice wines from Canada, Germany, the sweeter wines from Germany. So Chile is really kind of cool.
Huh.
And yeah, this is it. Sweet wines do need a comeback. And I think there was a long time that it seemed almost a bit uncouth to like a sweet wine. You know, oh, what do you like? Oh, something dry. And sweet
Well, it was
just
almost
went
like
out
you
of
needed
fashion.
the sugar to try to sort of, you know, make it palatable. It's like a spoonful of sugar on your Weetabix, and you know, or
it helps the medicine go down.
It does help the medicine go down, and I think that was how we kind of saw it. It was a kind of a way out from drinking the real thing, and it's not. It's just a style, and you know,
exactly. So this is from the Indomitor winery, and these guys are fantastic, and they make lots of different styles, you know, but they just do a lot of very nice, juicy, fruity, simple, easygoing wines. They make Merlots, they make Cabs, they make all this kind of stuff. So, and they do make quite a lot of wine. They're not a little winery, which means when they do a fun project like this, it doesn't have to be stupidly expensive, which is sometimes a problem with dessert wine. You know, it's, you go to, you know, in a Skilling or someone like that, you know, and they look at their Cabernet Franc ice wine, and you're somewhere between 100 and 130 quid a bottle.
Yeah, you need a new mortgage for that.
So, you know, it's sometimes
is it good? Yeah, it's epic.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But sometimes dessert wine, because the way dessert wines are made is about getting rid of the water, it takes a lot more grapes to make not quite. Oh, that was a wonderful shot of the reflection of me in the side of that bottle. I like that. You just take that back. So I think that's really, really cool. But yeah, while we get the tasting notes in there, is this the point that I ask everybody for a favour?
Oh, I think that's a good idea, yeah.
So, if you follow us on Instagram and Facebook, where you've probably seen my pleading plead as it is. However, we found out, I'm going to share it at the beginning of this week, we have been nominated for the People's Choice Wine Awards, the top online wine retailer for 2024. So what I would love you to do is scan the code, go and vote for us, because
we have a bit of competition in there, and there's two brilliant
so we're
companies named,
we're in the top three, and the awards are in Manchester next month. We're up against Wine Direct, who deliver wine to you next day. Lovely people, great
looks
list,
a pretty website,
and then
Ocado,
and the tiny little company that is Ocado.
So if they send a message out to their email list, I suspect they'll probably beat us. But wouldn't it be nice if the little guys,
for the little independent wine merchant
who is
so
three of us,
obviously,
us two,
if you love us, vote. If you don't love us, just don't vote for the other ones. But share with people, Dan. It would mean the world to us to be able to get up to Manchester, win this award, and get, you know, recognition for the hard work. And if we get something like that, fingers crossed, more people want to work with us, and we'll be able to bring even more great wines to you guys.
I think the thing that we do, hopefully better than anybody else, is I don't think anybody innovates as much as we do. I don't think anybody tries as many new crazy ideas. I don't think anyone's taken as many big gambles that we have on all sorts of things over the years. So, but obviously. That's my fun. It would be lovely if we were to be considered, and you know, to be the David to the Goliath of Ocado would be great.
Exactly. But anyway,
so yeah, I will leave that there for a few moments longer. The tasting notes are great. I love this is really cool wine, because you think about your Gewürztraminer, and this grape predominantly from Alsace. Got the right one this time. Excellent.
Well done.
Good stuff.
You can be a wine influencer. You didn't get it wrong.
It's got this incredible aromatic smell of like Turkish delight, doesn't it? So it's almost like it's that sort of flowery sweet in the first place. And Sauvignon's pretty aromatic as well. I thought this might blow my nose off, but it's
quite well tempered. It's not just lavender and potpourri and your eyes are bleeding coming out the side of it. It does really, really well. And I think that's because it's 50%, and you know, you've got 12% alcohol, so it kind of you've got that warming feeling to there. I just think it's really well made. You know, lots of peach, a lot of apricot, but yeah, this is cheddar cheese or fruit-based desserts. Panna cotta, like a peach panna cotta or something like that, would be really good. Apple pie. You know, just easy going. Or just by itself. But anyway, do we think it is time for the end of show quiz?
I think it's time for the end of show quiz.
So the prize, for those who have joined us, we're going to move on to the quiz. We're going to give you a second to get your name in. So you can click.
I'm just
go.
loving the yes. Can I just say yummy? And somebody go, yes, you can say yummy. It's yummy.
Okay, there we are. There's the taste. So if you are joining our quiz, get your name in. Let's get that up on the screen so we can see who's coming in.
Yep. Oh,
here
right.
they come. They're all
that's
in.
exciting. I haven't seen that before. That's very nice.
So,
oh,
the prize this month, because it's January and everybody loves us, and isn't this a wonderful thing to share with a friend? We did it for Christmas, but we're going to do it again this month. So the winner of the quiz will get. What are you doing?
I'm trying to get us big again. That's weird.
So
Anyway.
the winner of the quiz will get the chance to send next month's wine tasting to a friend. So if you win, you need to email us and say, "Yo, I won," and that would be great. So the quiz, you get points not only for being correct, but you also get points for speed.
Yeah.
So we're going to count down 15 seconds to see if anybody else is going to get in. So we're 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, I've pushed the start quiz button. Let's have a look at what that looks like. Okay, so what is the most popular white wine grape in the UK? Chardonnay, Sauvignon, Riesling, or Pinot Grigio?
We've got 14 out of 21 in.
That's looking good.
Just leave us in a little corner there. 60 say Sauvignon, 20. No one for Riesling. You're all banned. You're all banned.
Okay, are we going to say what the correct answer is? It is correct. Sauvignon Blanc. A few years ago, that would have been Chardonnay, wouldn't it?
And a few years ago, it would have been Pinot Grigio. Okay, so Joanna's at the top. That's quick, 6 seconds. Hannah tied with 6 seconds.
Yep.
Speedy beady. Let's go.
For the next question?
Let's go. Next.
Go. In a world of... Oh, I've kind of ruined that one, haven't I? Although, yeah, I mean, I don't know about Katy Perry. I mean, I'm sure she could do a good one, but pink really should have a pink wine, given that she actually is a winemaker. She is a winemaker. She's a geeky winemaker as well, but I suspect most people are going to get that right, don't you think?
Yeah. This is a problem with not having shared the quiz with Taylor before we started.
Sorry about that.
So Kylie Minogue is the correct answer. What does that do for our leaderboard? Joanna's still top. Hannah's dropped by a second. Ian's dropped by 2. Yep. I need a horse racing commentator here. I really do.
Okay, ready for the next question? 3, 2, 1,
go.
Which countries are up and coming in UK popularity? Chile, Hungary. Oh, sorry, I can't read it. You can do it.
Yes.
What? How have you defined this? What do you mean by are they up and coming? Do you mean
which ones are predicted to make the highest growth in sales in the UK in the next year?
Okay, interesting.
No one thinks it's going to be New Zealand. Oh no, they do. Don't know what. There we are. Hungary, USA, and Portugal is there. But is it? It's not. South Africa, Spain, and Portugal are the 3 for the big rises.
How interesting. I think it's Spain because of their love of Jamon Iberico. And,
And the fact we said Portugal tonight.
South Africa, one of the big things that has driven South African growth was that New Zealand has an absolute shocker of a year in terms of Sauvignon production. And so a lot of the production went over to South Africa, and you go look at some things like Mud House, that really famous supermarket brand of Sauvignon. They've got a Chilean one, they've got a South African one now. So yeah, that's probably driving that, I suspect. But that's cool to see for South Africa.
That's 57% not on the.
Yeah.
Oh, Hannah's jumped to the top. Oh, Hannah and Ian, we've got 3, 4. We've only got the top 4 at 100%. Okay. But hey, there's some quick times near the bottom.
Next question coming up now. There are more and more wines on the market using Crevry, but what is a Crevry? Is it a clay pot to ferment and store wine, a type of yeast first found in Armenia, or is it a shaped bottle to aid the aging of wines? Do you want to go and grab that crazy shaped bottle?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right. The name of 300-litre barreled mature orange wines. Good question. So
it's coming in.
It's come in, and we've got 81% going. clay pot to ferment wine, which is correct. Well done. You've all been paying attention. And that, the home of a Quevry, anybody in the chat? I'm going to pop onto the leaderboard. Colin D.
Colin's
jumping
up
to the top.
top.
Wow. It's all over the place. This is exciting. Okay, so I will move on to the next question. How many do we have? Not many more. The Bordeaux classification, of course.
One of the
This
first
set
trends.
the trend of the price. And what year did it happen? This could be-
1642.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a mix and match.
Joan of
here.
Arc sat there doing it. The most popular answer is
1855.
1855. Half of the people. Is that right, though? It is correct. Well done.
1855 classification.
Yes.
And there's only been one change
There's
since.
only been one change since, and that was to allow the
Mouton.
Chateau Mouton Rothschild into it. So, okay. Colin, keeping in the lead there. 5 out of 5 now. On to the next question.
Oh.
No vinophobia.
Is the fear of what? Is
Oh, we
it running
must
out of
have done
wine?
this one
An
again
empty
before.
glass? Not the answer to
I
a
like
wine
that
question?
one, yeah.
Or none of the above? You're
Yeah,
just
none
trying to
of the
make me
above.
look silly.
Yeah.
Would I do that?
And that's everybody's answer in.
And I love the fact that 33% of you think that I want to make you look silly.
Yeah, well, to be fair, there is a track record here, isn't there? So, okay,
They are,
congratulations.
but it is running out of wine.
Running out of wine. Colin, jump note. Yes.
He's
missed it, but he's still in the lead.
still in the lead on time.
Joanna
Oh,
catching
it's
back
all
up.
to play for.
1 second away.
What's this? Is this going on to question 7?
Yeah, question 7, which says, "What is this?" And I don't know.
Oh, yeah. What is this?
I can't even see it. Oh, there. Okay.
Is it a pressure tank for carbonating wine, a nitrogen compressor, a part of Jamie's new steel drum band, or a deconstructed Dalek?
Interesting.
Do you think there's going to be people who are lower in the leaderboard just playing for fun now?
I think there might be. Yes, absolutely.
It's good. So
correct.
So this, in fact, is our new nitrogen compressor to take the air and produce nitrogen for us, so we don't have to transport big, heavy gas canisters around. So once again, improving our eco footprint.
Yeah,
for the
it
world.
should improve our quality as well, even more, because what we'll be doing is using the nitrogen for a lot more of the processes in the future where we would have used pumps and things. So it's a really key part of kit. But yeah, that's sucking the nitrogen out of the air, and then it purifies it to 99.9999%, I believe, something like that, and make sure there's no bacteria in it whatsoever. So that's quite important.
Final question coming up. Is it final question coming up?
I think it is the final question.
So we've got Colin, followed by Kathy, followed by Matt. It's all close.
It's very close.
No pressure, Colin.
Ready for the last question. 3, 2, 1, go.
Will have any of Alex's shirts be on trend this year? Absolutely. He's the trendiest man in wine. No chance. There's no way to tell. It could happen. So bear in mind, I wrote the quiz.
You wrote the quiz, yes. I was out today at a Coravan tasting in London. I got to meet Greg Lembrecht, the founder of Coravan, and I got to see the very first original.
I love the fact this is
prototype
right down the middle, right down the middle. Nobody knows about your shirts.
Nobody knows. And the correct answer is apparently all of them are correct.
Oh,
so
I thought first tasting, we'll give everyone a freebie,
which means that sticking in the lead.
You've got to hit finish quiz
I've got
now.
to finish quiz.
Put the leaderboard up.
Okay. There we go. Oh.
What have you done?
I hit the button you told me to push.
Okay.
I think that's just finished.
Hit leaderboard there.
Leaderboard, yep. I can't.
Yeah, okay.
Why?
Because it doesn't like you.
Doesn't like me.
Anyway, so Colin, you are our winner this fine day.
Yeah. And we've got a final quiz for those who are hanging around, which is what are your favourite wines of the night? So we love to do this just to hear what you think. So do pop onto the Slido and choose what your favourite wines of the night are. I think that's a difficult one. I can't decide because they're so different, and also some really, I loved the I love the Semillon. I think that was my real discovery, that you can have something that's got that richness. You would laugh if you knew how long little Colin knows about wine. I love that. Okay, sorry, I've missed all this chat. But yes, other than we're hunting down Sparkling Touriga Nacional. Is this working? Yes, it is. It is. Okay, so it's coming in. It's coming in.
I mean, we've got 9 votes in, so we've got a little bit more time. We can get the gun.
Yeah.
So what do you say? So
I love the Enira. I love the Portuguese blend. That's just a smashable wine. That's a really good, nice thing. We like to do the quiz before we tell you how much they cost, so that we just get a pure answer of what you liked the most. Now, obviously, then when we put the prices up, which we often forget to do, and then someone normally goes into the chat to remind us that we should have put the prices up. But
he's so far ahead of the game for 2024, he's going to remember.
It's close. I don't think I've seen one of our polls that's that close.
To be fair, it's almost not having worth a 1 a night. It's basically a tie, isn't it? It's a tie all the way through.
That's unbelievable. Okay, but there is. I mean, it's fair to say that there is one standing out a little, isn't there?
Well, we'll see. One vote will change it all.
Yeah, one vote could change it all. But interesting. Okay, so people are there's one person ranking, so I'll let that person finish, and then we will let you know. But very interesting. Effectively, it is 1 in the lead, and then there's 4 absolutely tied. There we go. That is crazy. I'll pop it up. Let's pop the actual. We often don't do this because we don't want to shame one that didn't do quite as well, because we think that's not very fair. Oh, there's still two people voting.
People are still ranking.
Okay. So what are we doing next month? Let's talk about next month.
Well, let's talk about next month, because I might have to talk to all you lovely people at home about next month, because I may or may not have said we're going to do Rivers next month on the 27th of February. However, I got an email on Monday saying, for those of you who may or may not have voted for us already, there's the People's Choice Wine Awards, which is being hosted in Manchester on the 27th of February. So we are going to have to move the date. It may well go to the 28th. We're going to make a decision tomorrow and update. So my apologies if you've already planned it and put it in your diary.
We might have to move that.
We might have to run to Manchester, and I don't think we can do a live show from Manchester while at award ceremony.
Probably not.
Should we have a look at the results?
Let's have a look at the results. Oh,
no, because you said next instead of show results.
Show results. So the winner, as we said, is the Enira Red Blend, which I think is absolutely fabulous. There's another one coming in, but look how close everything else is, and that banging Red Blend is in last place, but that's not a bad sign, because everyone's so close that it means that there were probably as many people who said that it was their favourite as said it was their least favourite. So I think that's.
Should we pop the prices up and just see if that changes anybody's mind?
It was tough tonight to choose. It was, wasn't it?
There was a lot of good wine, and I think there's also going to be, there's a right wine for the right place. The Enira is, food driven, and then the Primitivo is more, you might have a glass of it. But some real good value there. There's a QR code if people want to scan and go straight through to the buy the wine.
Yeah, I just don't want to interfere. But so yeah,
that'll do. The little
that
one at the top
Sauvignon
corner.
Blanc. I think that is what a high quality, lively, exciting New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc should be. I think the lemon Semillon is a revelation. I think the Primitivo Rosé is cool and good value. I love the Enira Red Blend for a wine with that age on it, 2018, and that quality compared to a £50 Bordeaux. I think that's great. $12.95 is really the kind of entry level price for unless something's being subsidized stupidly for good quality wine these days. It's very hard to get less than £12 we're finding these days. And then saying that, we've got our late harvest delicious half a litre bottle of wine, $9.95. I think that's cracking. Compare that to,
it's very drinkable.
Compare that to a Chateau d'Yquem, it's much cheaper. That's probably not a fair comparison.
It is. You would have to move the decimal point a little bit.
You would a little bit. Okay. I'll pop the Buy the Wines QR code up now, and I shall return us to the screen so that we can say thank you for everybody. Any final chats? It was just tough tonight. Prices are on the wine list as well. That is a very full point. But yeah, Stunned at the price for the quality. Absolutely
And
spot on.
As always, Colin, if it's something that you want, because we don't hold a load of stock, give us a shout and we'll get more. Except for the quiz. Okay.
Yeah, that's too many bits of bizarre winery equipment. Anyway, I'm so glad you all had a good time. In fact, there is the usual question where you can tell us if you had a good time.
I don't know. I'm just going to pretend everyone. I'll just pretend
yeah.
everyone had a good time.
People, yeah, we'll just pretend. But if you join us for the first time, let us know what you think. You've got our email addresses. We really hope to see you again next time. We hope you've enjoyed yourselves.
Absolutely. And for anyone who's new, it's your club. Let us know what you want to taste, what you want to see, what you want to do in 2024. And we're going to try and find, we've been promising it for a year now, we're going to find a way to get out and do a online wine tasting club live, get a load of people along. But it's been an absolute pleasure. And hey, if you've enjoyed it, tell a friend, tell some family, get someone else to get involved. Because the more people we get, the more fun we have, is what I heard anyway.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, have a great night. Thank you very much.
Take
See
care.
you next time.
Good night.
Cheers.
See you next
Bye.
time.